Hello and good afternoon. I'm Adam Hanneth, Client Relationship Director at BCRM. I'm excited to welcome you to this session at our BCRM Conquering COVID event, supporting professionals with an informative insight into ways to navigate a post-COVID sales world. For this session, we're going to focus on, does social distancing equal no networking? I'm delighted to be joined again by Charlie Lawson, National Director of B&R UK and Ireland and Unnatural Networker. Charlie has joined us earlier on today to give an introduction into the art of effective networking, and this can be rewatched with our on-demand playback facility, so please do catch up on that as well. Charlie's heavily involved in the networking industry through running B&R UK and Ireland, being a successful author and also a keynote speaker at Unnatural Networker. So we have been very fortunate to hear from Charlie today on two topics. I'll now hand over to Charlie in a second, but please do feel free to ask any questions in the questions and answers box in the top right hand corner of the screen, and I will ask a few questions at the end. Don't worry again, if we don't have your question answered, I'll send this over to Charlie and we'll get the answers out after. So Charlie, thank you, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Adam. Good to be here again. I got invited back, so that was that must have done okay this morning. So thank you very much. Good afternoon to you. Welcome to this session. Does social distancing equal no networking? An interesting question. Obviously, the short answer is no, it doesn't. I could leave the presentation there, but it wouldn't be much fun. So yeah, there's a bit more to say about it. Here's my take on it to give you the quick answer. Absolutely not. Of course, it doesn't mean no networking, but it doesn't mean things aren't different. And as we've all got used to networking looking like that, compared to the in-person events that we hope that we can one day get back to when it's safe to do so. Yeah, there's definitely some changes, but yeah, there's definitely networking still to be done. And I'd like to focus on this topic on this. And I'd like to, before I do that, just quickly talk about myself as an unnatural networker. And indeed the other types of networkers you have, because you do have natural networkers. And I've put a picture of a dog up here because you think what happens, those of you who got dogs, you'll know this, but you see it every day. When the doorbell goes, what do? They're just barking and so excited that someone's at the door, jumping around. You take them out for a walk, they can't stop stopping to chat, probably not the right word, but sniffing around and interacting with other dogs. They're just always full of energy, always very up for interacting with other dogs. Natural networkers are like that. They just want to go. You get energy from talking to other people. I remember an old colleague of mine, Nicola, and I used to be just in awe of her when we went to a network event. In fact, I was in awe, but slightly freaked out as well, because she literally, that phrase, working the room. She'd literally just go and talk to everyone. And I think, I just do that. I just couldn't get my head around it. And then the next day I'd think, well, she won't, it was only a brief conversation with anyone. She won't remember everyone. But she did. She literally, oh, did you talk to so they knew those? And she had all these connections. I literally don't know how she did it. I compare that with unnatural networkers. And I use the cat image here because I'm not trying to stereotype, but we're a little more timid. We're a little more under the radar. We're comfortable in our own company. Introverts, effectively, this is extroversion versus introversion. Introverts tend to get recharged by spending some alone time. That's what unnatural networkers are like. And that's very much my camp. I talk about networking from the point of view of people who rather not do it at all. So I just wanted to get that out there first, because I think a lot of the tips I'll share here particularly work for those of you who are unnatural. And as I said in the session this morning, the majority of the business population, in fact, the majority of the population, generally talking to business population, find themselves, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the people are in that unnatural camp. And, just get the little butterflies, not really sure about it, feel slightly unsure. Once you get into it, you start talking to someone, well, it's just a human being and they're fine, you can talk to them. It just wanted to set that scene. The good news, I'm going to say there's some very good news about not having to go to in-person networking events, because you don't meet these types of networkers, those negative ones, those ones that just can't shut up and love the sound of their own voice. So that's a benefit. I did check here with Adam that there are none of these here, so we can move swiftly on. And I want to just show this image, because this is really what networking for me in the current situation is all about. It's, I think, sitting down for a cup of coffee with someone. You can, doesn't have to be coffee, you can have what you like. But I almost ask the question, when are we not networking? If you think about it, if you're having some dinner with some friends, obviously not right now because it's not safe to do so, but when you're allowed to do that, okay, it doesn't feel like networking because we haven't put that badge and it's working on it, but it's still building relationships with people. And really what we're trying to do is build relationships. And the best way to do that, and particularly when you can't go to big networking events, is to spend time one-on-one with people over a coffee. Now that can be in person if that's possible. If you're particularly close or fairly close, and you can do so safely. But equally, it doesn't matter if it's just a virtual coffee. Geographically spread, that might make a difference, or if it's just not legally safe to meet people. So you can do it on a Zoom call or whatever. But it's that one-to-one contact that I think is really important. Okay, we're going to focus this whole session on what to do when you're having a one-to-one session, one-to-one meeting. And there's really 4 things I think you should be looking to get out of your session or a one-to-one meeting. Let's take you through them. This is the first thing I'd like you to be talking to your networking partner about in your one-to-one. You want to talk about where do they want to get to? What are their goals? I don't mean whether they want to go on holiday next year. I mean, that might be their goal, of course, but I'm talking about the long term. What's their goals? What are their dreams? What are they trying to achieve? What are they trying to do with their business? What are they trying to do in their life? And there's a really important reason for asking this. I mean, sometimes you think this is a very obvious question. It's a bit more out there, if you like. It's a bit more, ethereal, if you like. But if you know what people's goals are, what can you do with that information? If you can help them on a step towards their goal by passing them a good referral to a client that moves their business forward, just as an example, how are they going to feel about you? What's their response to you going to be? They're going to want to, it builds a relationship. They're going to be delighted. They're going to be happy for you, or happy with you that you help them out. So I think it's really important to find out people's goals. And there's further to that. I just wanted to show you this person. This lady's called Kate Bourne. Someone I know through networking. She's not in your industry at all, probably, because she's in the cake making industry. Maybe there's some cake makers watching this. I have no idea. But she set up a business a few years ago, and she set up the business. I'm going to say it's about when her daughter was 3 or 4 months old, and as a result, her business is inextricably linked with her daughter, Emily. I'll tell you why she did that. She was in a dead-end job, honestly. When she was leading up to when she had the baby, she was in a dead-end job. She didn't like it. She was one of those people who just lives for the weekend, lives for a holiday, and then Monday morning I've got to go to work again. What am I doing here? Just have no kind of seeing the long picture and what the way out might have been. And so she set up this business because she wanted to follow her passion, obviously her family first. But and this is where the challenge came. When Emily was born, there were some complications. You don't need to go into them. They're fine now. Emily's a 3-year-old now, and is absolutely fine. But both mother and baby were quite seriously ill. They were in critical care for a number of weeks after the birth. And so once they had recovered and Kate was ready to start a business, the business became even more tied into her daughter and the feeling of the family that they were creating together. Here's the deal when it comes to networking. If you might meet Kate when out networking, and she'd tell you she was wanted a referral to someone getting married to make them a beautiful wedding cake. And yeah, you might be able to help them, you might not. But if you know the background and the story, if you like, her why and her goals and her dreams around creative business, so she creates a better life for her daughter, doesn't it make you that much more keen and interested to help her? Sharing your why, sharing your dreams, sharing your goals is it might seem that it's personal information, I don't want to share it, but trust me, it makes networking relationships so much more interesting because you'll have something that's interesting stuff to talk about, if nothing else, but it also helps people understand what drives you. And if they understand what drives you, they might be able to help you get there, and that makes a massive difference. Okay, so that was the first thing. Where do they want to get to? What are their goals? What's their drivers? Next one, I want you to find out how good they are. How good are they? Are they good at what they do? Why do you want to know this? Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, they might talk about their skills, and things they're particularly good at. Does that throw up areas of expertise that you then know you've got someone? You can be a bit of a gatekeeper in your network because you say, well, I know that person. Anyone's got that problem, I can pass them over there. It's a great position to be in because you then get people who want to help you. And also, when it comes to their accomplishments, how they've helped people, how they've helped their clients, maybe, it just gives you confidence that you can refer them, knowing your reputation is going to be protected. In the session this morning, we talked about that element of trust in a referral. Well, you're not going to pass a referral unless you've got that level of trust. So you need to know that they're good. And so it's really important to find out how good people are and make this a priority when you're in your one-to-one. So that's the second thing. Let's move on to the third one. And the third one is, what are they into? And I put this picture of a kid taking a picture here. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just not work. It's what are they into? What do they do for fun? What are their hobbies? What are their interests? That side of their life. And let me share a quick story to try and illustrate why this is so important. I'll tell you about a guy called Terry. Terry's a guy I've known well. He runs a printing business. Say I've known him well. I'm not like best mates with him, but I've known him for 2 or 3 years probably through networking. And I've also heard him talk about a specific business that he wanted to get a referral into. He wanted to do the printing for this particular business. And this particular business resonated with me because it was just their premises were just on the short walk I have from the station to where my office premises are. Not that I've been there for a long time, but they were right there, and I'd walk past them pretty much every day. So as I walk past this company's premises, I'd often think of this guy, Terry, the printer. Anyway, we sat down and had a one-to-one. And honestly, we didn't talk about business at all because we got into a really, I'm going to say argument, honestly, good nature friendly argument, fun discussion. We got into a argument about whether Lewis Hamilton is the greatest Formula One driver of all time. Now, you're going to be thinking one of 3 things probably right now. Number 1, well, yes, he is. Of course he is. Number 2, what the hell are you talking about? No, he isn't. Or 3, I don't care. It doesn't really matter what the answer is, because it's what happened next that was really interesting. After we had that one-to-one, the following week, I had my regular walk from the station to the office. And I walked past the premise of this place, and as usual, I thought of Terry, he wants to talk to him. You know what? I'm going to walk in there and see if I can make that happen. And I walked into the reception area. There was a guy on the reception desk, and I said, look, someone I know really wants to speak to your, it was the managing director you needed to speak to. And I went in there, and it was a cold call. It was a complete cold call. I walked in off the street. Because I was doing it on behalf of someone else, I couldn't believe how easy. He just said, yeah, I can set that up. I was trying to help out a friend. Now, that's a whole other topic, that making falling warm, if you like. That's a whole other area. We can look at that another day. But the point was, did something about it. I didn't just walk past, get my coffee and get into the office. And I think it's because I got to know stuff about Terry. That, common interest, that sort of something that binded us together. I mean, in this case, we actually disagreed, but it was still something that made that connection between us. And I cannot underestimate how cannot overestimate how important that is, because it's that connection that makes that relationship happen. And you've got a connection about whatever it is. Doesn't matter what the topic is. In this case, it was Formula One. It could be where you went on holiday. It could be what your kids are doing. It could be martial arts. I don't know. I'm just picking random things now. Whatever it is, have those connections, because that creates the relationship. Okay, so we've got 3 things. Where do they want to get to? What's their goals? What are they good at? And what are they into? They're the 3 we've done so far. Last one is, who do they know? Who's in their network? That's the other thing to be discussing to one-to-one. And I say this because it's really, this is a networking truism. If you are more targeted in your referral requests, when you've got to know someone, you've got that relationship and they're trying to help you, if you're more targeted in who you want to speak to, you will get more referrals. And it doesn't matter whether there's a pandemic going on or anything else. If you're targeted and you're sitting down in the right place with your network, building relationships and educating them in the right way through this targeted approach, you will get referrals. And I'll tell you a quick story to illustrate this one. It was a funny one. This was in an in-person environment. There were about 45, 50 people in the room, and I was doing an exercise where I encouraged every single person in the room to be really targeted. And by targeted, I mean name someone. They couldn't just say, I want to speak to the manager at XYZ company. They had to actually name them. So they got on LinkedIn, they Googled it, and they found names. And we were getting some great connections being passed. But when you're standing in front of a room as a facilitator or speaker, as I was back then, you kind of have your eye on the room. And there was this guy at the side of the room in the far corner. If I could say, he wasn't displaying good body language. If you can imagine, he was kind of sat back, he was rolling his eyes, arms crossed like this, and he just, you could tell he wasn't buying into the process. And I thought, well, this could be a challenge. And as we kind of went round the room in order, we were getting closer to 3 away. My heart rate started going up. 2 away, it was like, God, how this is going to go. And when it came to it, it was like, really, just have to take a deep breath and go on then. So who's a good referral for you? And his response was quite interesting. He was like, no, mate, on you go. He didn't want to know. I said, come on, give it a go. You've heard some great connections here. He said, no, seriously. No one's going to be able to help me here. I said, please, just try. Brave pill. Just try and name a referral that you'd want. And he said, look, if you're trying to tell me that this group of small business owners is going to be able to refer me to the marketing manager of the Hilton Hotel Group, I don't believe it. I didn't say anything. The guy 2 seats along from him stood up and said, you know what? I live next door to the chairman of the Hilton Hotel Group. We're quite good mates. We played golf together the other day. Our kids go to the same school. We're kind of just in the same social circle. I might be able to make an introduction, but not so keen to right now, given the attitude you're showing. And everyone kind of there was a bit of a stunned silence at that point, but the point had been made. It's the random nature of networking that surprises. It surprises, I've seen it so many times. There's so many connections made because of that targeted approach. It just happens and keeps happening. And it's just, we all know how many people, and we know those people know people, and it's the 6 degrees of separation, all that sort of thing. It's the random nature of networking, honestly. So be targeted in your approach. When you're having your one-to-one, think who you want to speak to, share contacts with each other so you can get inspiration from that. And if you're not sure who to ask for, I mean, a lot of people say this to me, I get it. See what you're saying. I hear that story about the Hilton guy, and I get it. I want to be specific. If you're not sure who to ask for, here's the best way to do it. Think of a good current client. Got a good current client in mind? Well, another one like that, please. There you go. That's as simple as that. I mean, I'm assuming you can't. You might have a competition agreement. You can't do business with the competitor in existing client. Okay, that happens sometimes. But generally speaking, a good current client will give you a lot of clues. Pick another person a bit like that, or another company a bit like that, and that will help you be targeted, be specific in your networking. So there you have it. 4 things to do. Get to know what people's dreams are, their goals are, what their why is. Get to know how good they are. Find out what they're into, and then find out who they know, because that's where the connections come. If you do those 4 things in your one-to-ones, and you build relationships through that process, there's just as many referrals to be had, pandemic or not. And okay, it's slightly different. I get it. We're not able to meet in person very much, but in many ways, it's exactly the same. If you'd like some more networking tips on that, feel free to drop me an email, charlie@unnaturalnetworker.com. Put tips in the subject line. There's plenty more where this came from. But I wanted to drop that in because there's actually the more important, or the last point I want to make, the most important question to ask in a one-to-one. What is the most important question to ask in a one-to-one? And a lot of people think, oh, how can I help you? Who's a good contact for you? And actually, you can disarm people completely if you meet them at an in-person event when we're allowed to do that. If you start off your conversation by saying, how can I help you? You'll almost see people do a double take because they're so expecting people to sell to them and go down that normal line. But for me, the most important, all relevant questions, I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but the most important question to ask in a one-to-one is, when's our next one-to-one? Because this is the thing. Networking, relationship building, I should say, is a journey, not a destination. You don't build a relationship with someone and then you're done. Life doesn't work like that. Things change, things move on. You get new clients, you want to target different things. It's a continuous process. So if I can encourage you in your networking, have those one-to-ones, but then continue to have one-to-ones. Keep going, have them again and again and again. And when you get that depth of relationship, much more is going to happen from it. So I hope you found that useful. Appreciate your time and attention to this. Does social distancing equal no networking? Well, of course not. But yeah, it's slightly different. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you again, Charlie. That was very, very interesting, very pertinent. I think, again, similar to the talk that you did this morning, I've taken a lot on myself. It's something that I've always been interested in, is how to do networking better and get the most out of it. But realizing, like you said, that it is a journey. It's not instant gratification. I think that you've got to build upon it and got to work on it. So no, that's brilliant. We have had some questions, so I picked a couple that I think are again probably the best ones. So, is networking on Zoom less effective than in person?
I come from an in-person, a lot of experience of networking in person, and despite the fact that I'm an unnatural networker, I am keen to go and see people, when the current situation eases. So yes, I do think it's overall, it's always going to be better in a room. Then I often find myself on a Zoom call and think, well, you could be on the other side of the world, and the fact that you almost can't tell, can you? It's so real. It's just technology. I should just get with the program. That's what the modern world's like. It genuinely is so real, and I think a one-to-one on a Zoom call is honestly pretty basically as effective as doing it in person. I just think most people are going to prefer. I like to have a good cup of coffee. I'm a coffee nut, and while I've got a coffee machine downstairs here, I still like to have a proper nice coffee with my one-to-one. So yeah, I think yes and no is the honest answer to that.
Absolutely. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to do it in person once hopefully it is gone. So another question is, what do I do with all the LinkedIn connection requests I get? I either don't know them, or are they just trying to...
This one comes up a lot, and I mean a lot, because I get it as well. I mean, I look to build my network on LinkedIn, and sometimes I just get connections requests. I was like, really? No idea who you are. I'm just, and so often when you do click connect, you then get that immediate sales pitch straight after, and which is just annoying as well. So no, I definitely get it. I think I draw a comparison. Let's say you're going to an in-person event, and you meet someone and you shake hands. In fact, saying shaking hands, that feels weird. I haven't shaken someone's hand in probably how many months now. But you shake hands with them and you say hello. I mean, broadly speaking, that's the equivalent of going onto LinkedIn and seeing someone's profile, isn't it? That's the equivalent. And then you might choose to connect with them. You might choose to swap a business card. You might not. I mean, that happens. And, you've just got to decide what's the right thing to do. And I think I'd look at it in the same way. If you're there to just be a bit of a hunter and, I'm going to get as many connections as I can and then going to spam them and sell as well, clearly that's the way to do it. But what I would suggest is when I receive a connection request and it's from someone I don't know, two things about it. If they personalized it and they said, oh, we met at XYZ, or I'm involved in ABC and whatever it may be, and it just gives me some context for why they've connected, I'm instantly more likely to connect with them. So if you want to get that, then personalize it, don't send the generic one. But what I then will often do, if I don't know the person, I'll just write back and say, hi there, thank you for the Ask and Connect. How can we help each other?
Yeah.
And if they genuinely mean to connect and want to, well, they'll probably answer. If they mean to spam you and sell to you, then they never answer. So you know where to
qualify them out. Qualify them. No, brilliant. Again, I think we'll leave it there with the questions, but any questions that haven't been answered today, obviously we'll get these out to you, and then we can get those answers back out to the people that have asked. And then anybody that has watched this event today and has enjoyed it, again, it is available on demand within our platform after the event today. So again, thank you, Charlie, and appreciate your time today.